Puss in Boots. There once was a young man who had nothing in the world but a cat named Puss. He felt very sorry for himself. He sighed, "What good is a cat?" Hearing this, Puss replied, "A cat is a very fine thing indeed. Give me a pair of boots and a sack, and I will make your fortune." As soon as Puss got his boots, he set off. First, he caught a fine rabbit and put it in a sack. Then he boldly made his way to the castle. "I have come to see the king," he cried. "I bring a gift from my master, the Marquis of Carabas." The king was pleased with the gift and invited Puss in Boots to stay for supper. The cat ate his fill from the banquet table, and while he ate, he talked. First, he told the king how rich the Marquis of Carabas was. Then he told the queen how noble the Marquis of Carabas was. Then he told the princess his master was handsome, brave, and charming. By the time Puss in Boots left the castle, everyone was talking about the mysterious Marquis. Puss had learned that the royal family was about to take a tour of the countryside. He ran back to his master and said, "I have a plan. Go swimming in the river today, and I will make you your wildest dreams come true." While the young man swam, Puss hid his clothes. Then Puss jumped in front of the king's carriage and shouted, "Help! The Marquis of Carabas is drowning!" Quick as a flash, the king's footman jumped in the river and pulled the young man out. "Someone has stolen my clothes!" the young man cried. So the king gave the man new clothes to wear and let him sit in his own royal carriage. In his borrowed clothes, the Marquis of Carabas looked just as rich and noble and handsome as Puss had promised. Meanwhile, the cat ran on ahead down the road until he came to some fields that were owned by a fearsome ogre, the terror of the land. He told all the farmers about his plan, and they agreed to help him. Next, Puss in Boots ran ahead to the ogre's castle. He knocked boldly on the door, and the ogre answered. "Is it true that you can turn into anything you like?" Puss asked. The ogre proudly turned into a lion. "But it must be easy for an ogre to turn into a lion," said Puss in Boots. "An ogre could never turn into something tiny like a mouse." The lion roared and turned into a mouse. In a flash, Puss ate him up, and that was the end of the ogre. Along the road, the king saw farmers working. When he asked who owned the land, the farmers did just as Puss had told them and said, "The Marquis of Carabas." Puss in Boots stood by the ogre's castle gate. When the king came by, Puss called, "The Marquis of Carabas welcomes you." The king and the queen and the princess ate a marvelous supper in the castle with the Marquis and his cat. Before long, the princess and the Marquis of Carabas were engaged to be married. On the day of his wedding, the Marquis of Carabas turned to Puss in Boots and said, "Thank you, my friend. You were right. A cat is a very fine thing indeed." So let's draw our own Puss in Boots. So we're going to start off with a really simple cat, and you're going to do an arc and then 2 triangles for ears, and then connect them with a big giant smile-shaped line. Then draw an upside-down triangle for a nose, and then little lips, and 3 dots where the whiskers would go. Next, you're going to add some eyes. So start from the corners of each side of the nose and make a candy cane shape. And then the bottom of the eyes. And now you get to choose how you want the eyes to look. So here it is with eyes right in the center. They're staring straight ahead. You can also make the eyes look closed. You can add eyelashes if you'd like to as well. So this one looks content, possibly sleeping. And then you can also, if you want to do more open eyes, make them looking in a certain direction. This one's looking down at his nose or her nose. Perhaps you want your cat to be looking up. Maybe it's looking at something up in the corner. Or maybe halfway sleepy or really pleased about something. So draw some eyelids and then the eyes. So to get started, you're going to do several different cats, and everywhere you want a cat, you're going to draw an upside down triangle for the nose. Where every nose is, you're going to draw a head, a cat head around that nose, and then all the details. I went ahead and did the eyes afterwards so I could kind of decide where they were all looking, so it could look like they were looking at each other and interacting. I'll start with the bottom cat and draw the body because you're overlapping. Then with the next cat up, you're gonna draw the body of that one and keep going up the page until you get to the top cat. Once you've done that, go ahead and outline everybody with a thick Sharpie marker. Next, you're gonna add some patterns. So once you have all these cats drawn, go ahead and think about different types of patterns. So stripe is a type of pattern, polka dots are a type of pattern. Anything that repeats itself is a pattern. Just be sure as you do your pattern, as you go all the way down the body, that you go all the way to the bottom of the page. And be sure not to draw your pattern on one of the other cats. Each cat just needs one pattern. Then if you see any pencil marks, go ahead and erase them. And then grab some color markers to go ahead and color in some eyes. Also add some pink for the noses if you would like to. And then the last step will be to pick one color for your negative space, which is the background, and paint it. Be really careful as you're painting that you use the edge of the brush to get around those little cat faces, those little ears. You're going to want to slow way down and just use that flat edge of your brush. Really carefully get in there. Be sure to fill in your cat's spaces all the way between each and every cat, all the way to the corners, and all the way to the edges.